Today on Hands On Photography, woo! I got another guest lined up. Man, I can't wait for y'all to hear the wonderful Canon Explorer of Light, Miss Krisanne Johnson, as we're going to talk about street photography. Y'all stay tuned.
This is TWiT. No ads, just the content. That's what you get when you join Club TWiT. You even get extras like TWiT Plus, our new bonus feed just for members, and exclusive access to the Club TWiT Discord community. Join now for just $7 a month and support TWiT as we continue to create top-notch podcasts you expect and deserve. We're just getting started, so be one of the first to join as we build Club TWiT from the ground up. You could be an early member. Go to twit.tv/clubtwit to learn more and sign up now. Thanks.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? I am Ant Pruitt, and this is Hands On Photography here on TWiT TV. Hope y'all are doing well, man. I am unbelievable as always. As you already know, this is the show where I like to sit down and share different tips and tricks that are going to help make you a better photographer and a better post-processor. And then I get that wonderful opportunity to be blessed and graced with the presence of amazing professional photographers out here and doing their just beautiful work. And this week is one of those weeks. But before we get to our guests, let me say hello to all of our new folks signed up to the show. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for subscribing in whatever podcast app you're using, whether it's Apple or Spotify's or Google's or what have you. Really does mean a lot. So just make sure you still subscribe. Make sure you give me a nice rating and comment and help push me up in these search results and all of that good magical algorithmic stuff that I know nothing about. Apparently it does work when you do that though. So I appreciate you doing that. Or just head on over to the website, twit.tv/hop. That's twit.tv/HOP for hands-on photography. And you see all of the subscription options there. You'll see the previous episodes. You'll see all the show notes there. And, you know, don't be afraid of my beautiful mug showing up on all the thumbnails. I promise you, I'm not terrible there. I promise. Anyway, let's get rolling with this week's show. Today, I am joined by an amazing photojournalist, does a lot of editorial stuff. She's done some fashion stuff, but some of you folks have been nagging at me on Twitter a little bit and nagging me in the emails like, hey, Ant, you need to talk about some street photography, man. And I'm like, I want to, but it's a little hard for me. I could shoot it, but maybe I can ask somebody that knows a good bit about street photography, amongst other things. And this week's guest, she definitely does. Let me introduce to you folks, Miss Krisanne Johnson, the wonderful Canon Explorer of Light. How you doing, lady?
Hi, thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you here. You know, I've been following around on your Instagram and stuff. I say following, not stalking, because people tend to take a different connotation when I say that. And I enjoy seeing everything that you've published. And of course, on your website, you have a lot of beautiful content there. And it's a wide range. You know, yes, it's a lot of editorial type of approach, which is I love. But when I saw this one particular project, which we'll get into here in a little bit, it really struck a nerve because, yes, I know there's a story behind the project, but at its core, it looked a lot like good old-fashioned street photography. And I was hoping this week that you'd be able to walk us through that event a little bit, as well as just share some different tips and tricks that help you be able to capture those wonderful images. But before we get into that project, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm a Brooklyn-based photographer, and I sort of over the last, for the last 15 years, have split my time between photographing projects in the US and in New York and also in Southern Africa. So just a real love for editorial long-term documentary work and mainly shoot in black and white for my projects. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm really connected to probably moments, sort of that shared experience in social documentary work.
Oh, so you said a couple key things there. You said black and white. Yep. You said black and white, and then you said moments. Now, black and white. I have no problem with black and white because I think black and white images are usually the more powerful one. And again, this is going to sound real snobby, And I promise you, I'm not a snob.
There's such a battle. I don't know.
You know, it's going to sound real snobby, but when I see black and white images, they tend to stick or just resonate with me emotionally way more than something colorful, because it's almost like the colors are trying to make up for a story that's not there. Okay. You know, where with the black and white image, it's what you see is what you get. And it's something about it just being in black and white, it really makes me focus and see what the inner story is that the photographer was trying to capture. And then you mentioned moments. Now, when I think about street photography, at least for me and my perspective and the times that I'm out shooting, haven't done it in a while because everything's been closed and whatnot, not a lot of people out.
Lots of masks.
Right. But yeah. And so when I'm out, I'm thinking, okay, yes, this is everyday life, but okay, it is 5:02 p.m. in the afternoon, downtown city or whatever. When I click that shutter, what moment am I catching at 5:02 p.m.? And for me, it was a lot of the people that are untying the tie. They're just getting off work. And I always thought that was a bit of a fascinating story. What are your thoughts on that? Is that the main approach for you when you're out and about doing streets?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because I would say I was always kind of scared of street photography. Most of my long-term work required me to, spend a really large amount of time with people, gaining access. And then once I felt like I had the access, the intimacy and the pictures, sort of fell into place. So when I did work at newspapers before I went freelance. So I was used to sort of, when you have to go out and look for feature shots, a summer feature shot, et cetera, looking for just, those moments. But I feel like when I've really had to push myself in street photography projects, it was something that, was a little new for me too. And I was like, okay, you go out maybe in the morning or the afternoon, look for nice light. When are people active? Like how you just said, right at, the end of the workday. And, of course you have New York City, which is always pretty active. But yeah, like really kind of just paying attention to when there would be some nice light. And I mean, I love color photography. I really struggled to find my voice at first as a photographer. And I think after a few projects in black and white, it really connected. It just was a really true connection of how I felt I could express, sort of the feeling I wanted to get across with photography and, just really getting straight to the impactful moment of a situation. So black and white has really sort of led that charge, I guess, where it's poetic. And I feel like I adore color photography as well. It's just, I guess I've always connected more with black and white.
I think you hit the word that I was looking for.
Okay.
Poetic. That's what it is. It's and there's nothing against color imagery. I've seen some, like when I look at landscape, I want to see landscape in color. That's just me. I want to see the rich greens and the ambers and things like that, if it's possible. And then don't let it be at sunset or sunrise. Just, yes, give me all of that in color. Yeah. Don't necessarily want to see that in black and white, but something about it might look a little dystopian,
It's probably
look
not
at this beautiful
look,
sunrise in black and white. Well, how come I feel so depressed right now?
Yeah.
But then, I would take people, something about seeing people in black and white. That's poetic. That's the word I was looking for. So thank you for jogging my memory there. I've been looking at your website, KrisanneJohnson.com, and there's a particular project that you worked on. It's called, as I'm looking at the screen now, Life Along the Elevated. And this thing, it looks like it's downtown New York, somewhere, I'm guessing maybe Brooklyn or
all over.
It was all over.
Brooklyn, okay. The Bronx, Harlem, Chinatown. I basically, just to give you a little background of the project, I received a photo urbanism fellowship through the Design Trust for Public Space. And it was basically to sort of section off a year and to go out and explore all of the elevated infrastructure of New York City, which is about 700 miles. So it was sort of like 700 miles. There's obviously no way I can capture all of that. But, I just had to research, different sort of transit hubs and different areas that I thought I could really capture some nuance and some life along the elevated. So it was a really tough, interesting project to incorporate, people, but also a sense of the infrastructure. But I've lived in New York for about 15 or 16 years, and it just felt like such a beautiful challenge to keep exploring the city that I love so much. And then I discovered all these little pockets of life, sort of slowly by just going out and wandering. And, really, I can tell when I first started shooting the pictures, I was, very pulled back. I wasn't brave enough to get super close to people. And, that's probably one of the biggest tips about street photography is just the more you get out and walk and the more you get sort of your courage and that bravery to get a little closer and just go for it. I think as photographers, we stop ourselves more than the people do because we're nervous. And it's just getting over those nerves a bit and being respectful still and gentle and, your body language.
So that's probably, is it safe to say that was the hardest part, is just being able to tastefully interact with people, get people into the image as well as interact with them without, pissing somebody off? Because I got to tell you, when it comes to street photography, all I think about is how many times I see these different social media platforms or whatever talking about, hey, you don't have the right to use my image in your post and blah, 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 stuff like that. Privacy, basically. So I found myself whenever I was shooting, it was a challenge to respect folks' privacy because I knew I would end up posting it somewhere at some point. So a lot of times I would make sure the person turned their face just enough so they're not identifiable. I hardly ever took images of children. Me, I don't care. You want to snap my photo while I'm out and about? Sure. I'm out in the public space, whatever. Just have at it. But some people don't think that way. And so I tried to just do my best to capture something that says, hey, this is a person, this is a male, this is a female, or what have you. But you don't know who that person is. You really have to dig to try to figure out who that person is. Is that something that ever crossed your mind?
Yeah, I feel like, one of the first sort of conversations or lessons as a photojournalist that, you should have with yourself is about the dignity and respect of who you're photographing and how you communicate that with other people. I don't feel comfortable unless I feel like that person's okay with me. Even street photography, you are quick and you go in and you have to really, it's probably why it's kind of hard to give tips on street photography because it's kind of has to reflect your personality, your body movement, the way in which you are going to move through a crowd and sort of generate that openness so that people don't feel intimidated New Yorkers are very used to street photography. It's a city that, sometimes I'm like, wow, I can't believe this. Nobody did yell at me, but you're like, I think there's like a respect for street photography in New York. So it's a very different city, probably. Yeah. I've definitely photographed in cities that were much more like, as soon as you start on a corner, somebody starts yelling photographer and I was like, I'm hiding. I felt horrible. And I was like, okay, this is not the right spot to sort of do this because it's a much more closed off culture and it's not really acceptable. And that's a boundary I didn't want to cross. And I found other ways to navigate getting street life pictures through people I knew. New York, you can really, you can go out. I've done a lot of subway street photography too. And nowadays, most people are just on their cell phones. People don't even know you're taking their picture half the time. It's like, sometimes I'm just
down,
like, everyone's looking down, which doesn't make for a really great picture. But
it's just a sign of the times, at least.
It's a sign of the times.
Capturing the time.
Yeah. So I like to shoot really, all the pictures in the Life Under the Elevated project were all shot with a 28 millimeter lens.
Oh, okay. So that was my next question.
I have to get in really close if I want, to fill the frame with people. So, I usually try to stay in the same area and walk around for a while and people start to notice you and you can tell some people that don't want to be in photographs, will really avoid you. And I just kind of give, you give your own signal through your body language and a smile. Okay, I understand, don't worry. And if I don't really try to put children in as well, unless I've talked to the parent and asked if it was okay. Mm-hmm. That's something that you just learn from photojournalism, newspaper days too. It's just respectful, I think, to really try to get some of that permission.
Nice.
So
I've had, it sort of makes me think about my times shooting in Charlotte, North Carolina versus the times I've been able to shoot over here. Mm-hmm. And it's definitely a different vibe. People over here have been a little bit more open to it.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that there weren't times in Charlotte where I'm out there with my camera, and I'm usually quite visible. I usually wear like bright colors, and I make sure they see I'm out there.
Yeah.
And there was a couple of times I can remember some instances of a person's walking down the sidewalk towards me, and they see me standing there with my camera up to my face, and they'll stop and pose.
Yeah.
Stop, and
I mean, I think that's the lesson. Like, more often than not, I feel like people have given me access and like a special unfiltered, where like, it's amazing how people let you photograph them and they recognize and they ignore you, but they really have a sense of what you're doing. And I think that's kind of the magic of street photography, when, you once in a while get somebody that says, please don't, respect it. Don't use the picture, move on. But I've never really had somebody really get super angry or yell. I just immediately say, okay, respected, I won't use it. And you got to just keep moving on. And I would say, I do think we stop ourselves more for the fear of the rejection and the yelling. Yeah. But a lot of times I think there is a pretty healthy respect for street photography. And I would really encourage those that, want to go out and try it, just to, take it slow, get out there and practice, go back to the same areas, try, certain big gathering areas where people sort of expect to maybe be photographed.
Right.
Just really build up some of that confidence and learn your own body language and how you can communicate with others.
Now that makes sense. Now I have one more thing before we look at your portfolio here. I hate saying it like this, but I'm just going to be blunt. You are a female photographer.
Yes.
You're out and about with a camera, and I don't care if that camera is $200, $300, $5,000. Safety is a concern. What is your approach regarding safety? Because quite honestly, people seem to be way more bold these days, and will try to do anything just to get that equipment from you. Here recently in San Francisco, it's been a lot of people getting robbed down at the bridge in Christie Park and things like that. And it's pretty sad. I had a shoot recently with Jefferson Graham, formerly of USA Today. And, I had my bag with me, and I'm usually, pretty conscious about my security and safety and whatnot. But he was so hell bent on it. There was a time where we were shooting a segment, because we ended up videoing the segment. We were videoing the segment, and I had my bag on my shoulder. He says, take it off. And I took it off. I'm like, okay, fine. And then he says, step on it. And I'm like, what?
What?
He says, yes, step on your bag. And I'm like, why? And he says, no, take the straps and loop your leg into that strap, basically stepping on it. He was that cognizant of security, because where we were in an alley.
Okay.
Somewhere.
Yeah. I mean,
and it didn't really cross my mind like that,
you got to go with your gut. If your gut's telling you something's off, I always listen to my gut. If my gut says something's not feeling a little right, I just listen and I just move on. I don't try to push it. There's nothing, more important than our own sort of safety and trying to protect our equipment and ourselves. It's true. Like, as a woman, I've definitely, in other places, I haven't really had anything major in New York. I like to try to be as simple with my equipment. So I usually just use a really small Domke bag that fits like my body, the 28mm lens. I can put a little notepad in there. And, you know, maybe another small lens. I take off the Domke label. My Canon strap is switched to just a black strap.
Yep. Doesn't say Canon on it. Yep.
Yeah. So I just kind of, you know, and it's just a small little Domke bag that could also look like something else. It's not, it doesn't have like camera written on it, that it's a camera bag. And it just has the fold over flap. I can send you a picture. I keep that right under my shoulder. And, you know, with just that small lens, you just keep it with, you know, sometimes my arm it's just tucked right there. And then when I'm ready to take a picture, I swing it up. So I think it's traveling super minimal. You know, I think it's always smart to, you know, just keep your cell phone in your bag, keep your headphones away. Like you have to just be really, you know, sort of in the moment and paying attention to everything that's happening around you. And just, you know, you have to really give off a nice, strong energy. Don't come for me.
Yeah, that helps too. That
Move
helps
fast.
too.
Yeah.
I like how you say, don't come for me. I was thinking of something a little more vulgar, but you're way better than I am on this.
Yeah,
one.
you gotta get your, you know, little toughness on. But as a woman, I really haven't had a lot of instances where I feel intimidated from my gender to be out and about. I think it's a lot about how we approach situations. You know, not trying to, you know, try to be smart about where you're going, do your research, understand where this subway is, have a fully you know, your phone is charged if you need to call a cab, or just really make sure you know, cross your T's and dot your I's as far as your own personal safety and having a really good idea of the streets and, you know, where you're walking.
Indeed. Sweet. Great information. Now I want to transition into taking a look at your site and looking at this particular project. So let me pause for a second and switch the screen over. All right. So here on your website, KrisanneJohnson.com, under the editorials tab here, we have this Life Along the Elevated project. Now, I scrolled through this and again, it immediately just said the beauty of street photography, even though this project is more so about, you know, the infrastructure and whatnot going on there in the intersection between that infrastructure and the people. But I just saw beautiful black and white street photography. And there's a couple images that got my attention. And it's because the way you're sort of interacting with people. And it was this one down here at the bottom really got me. Okay. Now with this shot, you said you're using like a 24 or maybe 24 to 70 most of the time? Nope,
everything was shot on a 28.
Oh, on a 28. Okay.
Yep.
So that's still a little wide in my opinion. So I'm like, okay, she is right up on these folks out here dancing and partying it up. What's it like when you're out and about and you saw this happening? You just walked up and snapped it? Was it people aware that you were there? How did you pull this off? Because I mean, she did not stop the groove.
She did not. No, it's amazing. Everyone that visits New York should go check this spot out. But this was, you know, sort of an instance where I researched a lot of different neighborhoods and train tracks. And this was actually in East Harlem. And it's near where the former, it's like revamped now, La Marqueta. And so there used to be like a market back in the day that would be underneath the North Metro tracks here. And now on Saturdays, the local community comes out and has salsa under the tracks. And so people just like put their chairs out, have some drinks, anybody can come join and have some salsa. And do some salsa, and it's just fascinating. So I just walked around and, you know, most people didn't even say anything. I would go back multiple Saturdays and just hang out and I never learned any salsa because I was always photographing with it. But yeah, so it was actually, this was a really good example of everybody was super into the spirit of the dance and being outside, and nobody ever really said anything about me photographing. And I would talk to people afterwards and get names, and that was really awesome.
And then there's this one here. This is just sort of like classic to me. and super easy in my head because they're facing away. I know I'm not having to worry about capturing faces, but at the same time, I am seeing a bit of a story here because of the where the sunshine is. You know, so this is either earlier in the afternoon or later in the afternoon, one of the others.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I would imagine might have been later. Gosh, I'd have to look at the timestamp on that now. It was, it's such a interesting spot in Chinatown under, gosh, is that the bridge? Now I have to look up all of my different locations, but I would go under this area quite a bit because the shadows would just be so beautiful.
Yes.
At certain parts of the day when the sun would block or it would come on this side of the street or the other side. So I would just kind of go and, check out different times of day. And then just looking at body language, trying to find a quiet picture. I don't know. I just really liked the movement of this one too, and how the heads all kind of are a little bit down.
Yeah, everybody's sort of looking down, just sort of just going about their business, if you will.
Yeah.
But you said earlier that you have in your bag a notepad. So I'm assuming part of your reconnaissance is going around and you're taking note of time of day and where the shadows are. Or is that part of it, or?
I wish I could say yes, but not really.
I appreciate the honesty.
That sounds like I would probably benefit from that for like.
Oh, I love you more for the honesty.
But no, I usually am just writing down the names of the street corners. So I can't help it. I mean, I just, been a photojournalist for too long. If I have talked to somebody afterwards, I really like to get somebody's name. So whether I could send them a picture later or maybe I'll get some quotes. A lot of times, I did not get, this just happened really fast. I didn't know how it would come out.
Right.
But yeah, so I just bring I like to make notes and kind of observations of the area because I feel like that can always help, inform a larger project.
This is another one where I looked at it and I said, this is all about the specific time of day. This is Westchester. I'm not a New Yorker, but I've heard of Westchester. Is that what that says there? Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's Southern Boulevard and Westchester.
And so I'm like, okay, she knows what she was doing here from a timing standpoint, even with where the sun is just coming over the edge of this infrastructure here, giving you this beautiful lens flare that's just tasteful, not distracting, just tasteful. And it's giving a nice little rim light and highlight to the back of her hair. And he's looking you square in the face, owning this moment. What do you remember about this moment?
Well, I loved these two. I met them and then talked to them for a while, Rocky and Jazz. And, I couldn't help but notice their style. And as you mentioned, I've shot a lot of fashion work for Fader magazine, where it's a lot of documentary fashion. So you kind of also go out into the streets and we're just kind of talking and casting people that we, we find interesting. And these two just immediately, I was like, I have to know these two. They just look so stylish and, so I kind of confident. I mean, they were just amazing. And the way the subway track there, it curves and there's a lot of noise pollution. And so it was a difficult area to photograph with the shadows and trying to get not just the traffic, but the people. And so I was walking particularly on this corner because I saw that, the light was just really coming through. I love light flare. I mean, sometimes you don't want to clean your lens because it just helps get better light flare.
Yeah, so true. So true.
I love it. I can't help it. And so, I just met them and we started talking and, snapped this picture right, as soon as I sort of met them. And then we chatted for a bit and they're both artists living in the area. So I even I later on made them a nice print and brought it to their house. They were just the nicest. They were cool people. Yeah, it was fun. So stylish. I still follow them on Instagram.
Oh man, I love
so that's great, right? You just get to walk around and meet people. That's the best part of photography.
Oh my gosh. You need to send me their Instagram too. I'd like to check them out.
Okay.
Again, that confidence is it really stuck with me when I saw that one there. Now, one more question.
Okay.
You are shooting Canon. What camera body are you using here recently?
So it was very exciting. I just got the Canon R5 and the R6. So I am experimenting, and it's a whole new, I was recently using the Canon Mark IV. So so I'm just like going through all the settings, doing all the YouTube videos now, making sure I understand like every little part. And it's so interesting switching, to the mirrorless, but it's such an awesome camera. I cannot wait to just get it down. So,
oh my goodness, the hands-on photography audience and the TWiT TV audience, they know I'm a bit of a Canon fanboy. I don't shy away from it, not one bit. I think there's two behind me. I still haven't gotten the R5 and R6 yet, but boy, I'm up there on the list, man. Yeah. I did a review of both of them. Okay. Back when they came out, and I really enjoyed playing with those. Yeah, cameras.
And so much like a little lighter. I'm excited for just getting out there with my 28, and just it's going to be nice to do some string and some spring street photography.
Oh, it's going to be great. Today. Going to be great. And also mentioning Canon, you are one of their Canon Explorers of Light. So. Wow. Tell us a little bit about that. That's a pretty big title to have, and pretty big responsibility to have too, right?
It is. Yeah. I got to get that R5 working. No, I mean, that happened, this past year, and I've used Canon since my Canon film cameras when I started in film. Yeah. I think the Canon Elon, or I'm trying to remember my first one, but yeah, I've used Canon my entire career. So when I was asked to be a Canon Explorer of Light, it was a bit of a really, beautiful moment, and they are just amazing to work with. And just, it's just kind of a new thing. So we're just starting out, but I'm very grateful for the experience.
I am so jealous. I'm so jealous. I've spoken to a handful of the EOLs, Explorers of Light, and they're all just like you. They're just great photographers, yes, but they're also just great people doing good things out there with their art. So it's an awesome group of folks, and nothing but kudos and respect for all of you.
Thank you. That's very nice.
Now, before we get out of here, I want to give you the opportunity to share anything that you're working on that we may see in the future, or anything else that you'd like to plug.
Gosh, it's been a tough couple of years with the pandemic, but I currently am going to be showing some new work that I kind of had to put on hold since 2017, but it's some work that looking at sort of life in Cape Town and affordable housing. And I'm going to be premiering that at a festival in Italy in June. So I'm excited to get some prints done and show that work. And then hopefully this year I'll be able to go back and keep working on the project. It's very close to my heart. I've spent a lot of time in South Africa. So yeah. And then obviously I need to figure out another New York City project, because it's just special here. So I got to get that going as well.
So with those new projects, I'm assuming we'll have this on your newly updated website. Wink, 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 wink. Folks, that's an inside joke. Sorry.
Gonna update that website real soon.
I'm looking forward to it.
Okay.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks.
Miss Krisanne, thank you so much for your time. This has been a lot of fun. And again, I told you I wanted to talk to you. I didn't want to interview you. And I hope that this has been a great time for you as well. I really do appreciate the tips and the tricks that you shared with me, as well as everybody here in the hands-on photography audience. Really do appreciate you.
Oh, thanks so much.
All right, folks. So that is going to do it for this week's episode. Exhale, exhale, calm down. Okay, we're good. We're going to close this show strong. I really do appreciate Miss Krisanne joining me this week, sharing all of her tips and tricks. Hey, if you got any questions for me, shoot an email over to hop@twit.tv. If you have any feedback, some images you'd like for me to look at, or you want to share some of your street photography, go ahead and share them with me. Just shoot an old school email to hop@twit.tv, or feel free to give me a follow and tag on the social media platforms, because I'm out there too. I am Ant_Pruitt on Twitter. I am also Ant_Pruitt on Instagram. I do have a lot of fun chatting with you folks on social media because y'all say some crazy stuff. You say some crazy stuff and I enjoy it. I really do. But yeah, just hit me up either way and I'd love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this week, folks. Thank you again to my man, Mr. Victor, for making me look and sound good each and every week. One more thanks to Miss Krisanne. And one more thanks to you, the loyal listener, for sharing the show out with everybody else so they can get on the hands-on photography community and help grow this community. Really does mean a lot. Really do appreciate your support. All right. Until next time, folks, safely create and dominate. And we'll see you next time.
Is that an iPhone in your hand? Wait a second. Is that an Apple Watch on your wrist? And do I see an iPad sitting there on the table? Oh my goodness. You are the perfect person to be watching iOS Today, the show where Rosemary Orchard and I, Micah Sargent, talk all things iOS, tvOS, watchOS, HomePod OS. It's all the OSs that Apple has on offer, and we show you how to make the most of those gadgets. Just head to twit.tv/iOS to check it out.